All right, let's get right into it. Imagine a mountain in Tibet. It's shorter than Everest, but no one, and I mean no one, has ever reached the top. It's this place that's just wrapped in mystery, revered by millions, and of course the subject of some pretty wild internet theories. We are talking about Mount Kailash.
You see, to really get Kailash, you have to start with its spiritual power. As the spiritual master Sadhguru said, the energy there, it's literally transformative. This isn't just a pile of rock and ice. For so many people, it's the place where heaven and earth actually meet. So what is it that makes this one peak so unbelievably sacred? Well, it's not just one religion that holds it in such high regard. For four completely distinct faiths, Mount Kailash is a spiritual center, what they call an axis mundi. Or you could think of it as the navel of the world.
And this is where it gets really amazing, how these totally different beliefs all converge on this one spot. For Hindus, it's the divine home of Lord Shiva. For Buddhists, it's where the deity Demchok lives. In Jainism, this is the very place their first great teacher found liberation. And for followers of the ancient Bon faith, it's the sacred seat of all spiritual power. It's one mountain, holding the center of the universe for millions.
This idea of duality, it's literally reflected in the landscape. Right there at the foot of Kailash, you have two lakes, sitting side by side. One is Lake Mansarovar, a holy freshwater lake, just teeming with life. And right next to it, you have Rakshastal, a saltwater demon lake, where absolutely nothing grows. It's this stunning natural contrast, just steeped in mythology. So with all this profound significance, you can probably imagine that making a pilgrimage here, well, it's not exactly a walk in the park. It is a grueling journey that's going to test your faith and your physical endurance in, pretty much equal measure.
The most important ritual for any pilgrim here is called the Kora. And look, this isn't just hiking. It's a moving meditation. The very act of walking that 52-kilometer path around the base of the mountain is believed to wash away the sins of an entire lifetime.
Now, this sacred walk is usually a 3-day ordeal. Pilgrims will start at a small town called Darchen, trek to a monastery on the first day, but it's that second day where they face the single hardest part of the whole journey, crossing the treacherous Dolma La Pass.
And let me just put that challenge into perspective for you. The highest point of the Kora, that Dolma La Pass, sits at over 5,600 meters. That is higher than any mountain in all of Europe or the continental United States. The air is so incredibly thin. Every single step is just a monumental effort.
So yeah, this is not your casual vacation. Pilgrims face the very real, very serious risk of severe altitude sickness. You're trekking for hours on end in weather that can turn on a dime. And you're doing it with only the most basic food and shelter. It's a profound test of body and spirit.
So to even think about attempting this journey safely, preparation is absolutely everything. We're talking months of physical training, careful acclimatization to that altitude, having all the right gear, and maybe most importantly, a resilient and positive mindset. Okay, so a place this remote, this mysterious, and this revered, it's just bound to attract some incredible stories. So let's have some fun and separate the facts from the fiction. Let's untangle some of the most popular myths about Mount Kailash. Right, the first one you almost always hear has to do with its incredible shape. I mean, it has 4 distinct faces that are aligned almost perfectly with the cardinal directions. So people started asking, could this thing actually be an artificial man-made pyramid?
The reality is just as fascinating, but it's entirely natural. Geologists call Kailash a glacial horn. What happened is, during the ice ages, massive glaciers carved away at the mountain from multiple sides, and they left behind this sharp pyramid-like peak. You can see the exact same process at work with the famous Matterhorn in the Swiss Alps. And then you have the most sensational claim of them all. This is the big one, the idea that time itself gets weird here, that spending just 12 hours near Kailash is like 2 weeks anywhere else, causing your hair and nails to grow faster and making you age rapidly.
So where did this crazy story come from? Well, this whole myth can be traced back to one single person, a Russian eye surgeon back in the late 90s. He made all these wild, totally unproven claims. That famous story you might have heard about Siberian climbers who aged decades after trying to climb it? It's pure fiction. The Russian Mountaineering Federation has zero record of any such expedition ever happening.
Okay, what about the idea of its perfect placement on the globe? You'll see these claims online that Kailash is exactly 6,666 kilometers from the North Pole and exactly 6,666 kilometers from Stonehenge. Is that just a coincidence or some kind of cosmic design?
Well, it's actually just wrong. A quick check on any map shows you the real distances are off by hundreds of kilometers. It's a classic case of someone finding numbers that kind of fit a mystical story they want to tell, but the math just doesn't add up. So, now that we've cleared away some of the myths, we're left with the biggest and, honestly, the most compelling mystery of all. If it wasn't built by aliens, and it doesn't warp time, then why has no one ever climbed Mount Kailash?
I mean, really think about that for a second. We've sent people to the moon, thousands of people have stood on top of Mount Everest, which is more than 2,000 meters taller than Kailash, yet this peak, right here on our own planet, remains completely untouched by human feet. Why?
The answer, it turns out, is a combination of two really powerful factors. First, yes, the mountain is technically extremely difficult. Climbers have described its steep, sheer faces as utterly unclimbable. But the real barrier? That's something far more profound. It's respect.
This quote from Reinhold Messner, who is arguably the greatest mountaineer in history, it just says it all. Back in the 1980s, the Chinese government actually offered him a permit to climb it, and he flat out refused. He understood that to climb Kailash would be to violate something deeply, deeply sacred to millions of people.
And eventually that respect became official policy. After another attempt by a Spanish team in 2001 sparked international outrage, the Chinese government responded to the immense pressure from religious groups and from the mountaineering community itself. In 2001, they officially and permanently banned all climbing on Mount Kailash.
And that brings us to a final, pretty powerful thought. In a world where we are constantly striving to conquer every frontier, from the deepest oceans to the furthest reaches of space, isn't there something incredible about a place that we as a species have collectively agreed to just leave alone? Maybe the greatest mystery of Mount Kailash isn't supernatural at all, but a quiet testament to our own human capacity for reverence.